everyone. Welcome to Northshore. We are so excited that you are joining us this morning. It's the best day of the week, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
My name is Samantha, if we haven't met.
And I'm Jackie, and I'm so glad you're here. Really, we're glad. We believe here at Northshore that Jesus can change everything, just everything for anyone. And that's what this morning is all about, and everything we do here is all about.
That's right. And we would love to connect with you. So if you're watching online, please let us know where you're watching from in the comments. We have online hosts that would love to connect with you. But yeah, we are so excited that you're here today. Regardless of if you're on our campus or you're joining us online, you are welcome here. And another way that we can actually connect with you is through our connection cards. Ooh, what are connection cards?
Oh, brand new.
If you're on our campus, just reach to the seat back in front of you and you'll find the little cards, and you can fill those out and put them in the buckets as you exit the worship center after service, or you can take them to our guest services table as well in the lobby.
If you go to the guest services table, you get a free gift. So that's a fun fact.
So you definitely want to do that. If this is your first time joining us, take your connection card to the guest service. Yeah, to the guest services table.
First time. But if you're joining us online, we'd also love to hear from you and connect with you. And our hosts will be popping a link in the chat, and you can just click on that and fill it out. And that way we can reach out to you this week and just kind of cross that barrier from online to doing life together.
Yeah.
And I just love that we get to do that.
So
That's
good.
great.
So good. Well, okay, Jackie, you're back. We haven't been on pre-service for a while.
It's been a little bit.
So I'm glad that you're here.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
But how has your summer been? What has been like the highlight of the summer so far? We need to know.
Okay, so I'm one of those people that if the sun's out in Seattle, I'm here for it. Like, we do not travel in the summer.
Okay.
So I'm just thankful to be home, and my kids are still home after like a year and a half. But at the same time, it's different in the summer because we're not trying to do online school, and all their friends are now coming over to play outside, and that just, I love that. I love that. A house full of boys. I have 3 boys, and all their friends are boys, and so it's just, it's a lot of food, a lot of noise, and it just feels.
That sounds very, very loud.
Summer, it is loud. It is, but it's good. That's my favorite part of summer. It's just good. Yeah,
I love that. One of the things that I love about summer is that at our house out in Snohomish, where we live, there are hot air balloons that go literally right above our house on the weekends, and my 3-year-old daughter is just like obsessed. She's like, I want to see the hot air balloons, and it's just such a fun like early morning. It's usually early in the morning because she's up very early, but it's such a fun thing to like look for those with her, and I just love that about summer. And it's always just such a nice, usually it's a very nice weather morning, and so we can just like sit out on the deck and watch the hot air balloons. I can drink my coffee. We're golden.
I love that. Have you guys ever chased them? Like seen them land or take off or anything?
I have not, but I imagine if I suggested that, we would be running down the street and across the fields to chase them.
It's quite an adventure. We have them by our house as well. We live in Woodinville, and so they come in the morning and in the evening and land. And fun fact, this is nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but fact about hot air balloons is that they land kind of where they land because they don't have engines, and so they'll just find an open area. And it's tradition that wherever they land, they give the owner a bottle of champagne to say thanks for landing here, because they can't really control it. And so we have lots of friends who have had hot air balloons landed in their yard.
One to land in my yard now.
Fun experience, this giant thing.
That's so cool.
Summer is something else.
Summer's so good.
It's just good.
I have to transition us now to what we're going to be talking about, because we're talking about summer and how much we love it. Summer's been great so far.
Yes.
But here at Northshore, we have a couple things coming up that's just going to take your summer from like great to off the charts. And the first thing is Community Serve Day. Community Serve Day is back this year, August 22nd. We are shutting down this campus on Sunday.
Don't come here that morning.
Yeah,
don't come here.
That's right.
Instead, go to the website and sign up to serve at a school.
Yep.
So we serve at over 30 schools in the area, all throughout the area.
Yep.
And you can sign up, choose the school you want to serve it at communityserveday.org.
Yes.
We serve every year. It's actually kind of funny. It's one of my kids' favorite days in the summer, which tells you how little fun we have, but also how awesome Community Serve Day is. And we always go to the elementary school. And so whether they're in elementary or they've moved on and they could come back to their like alma mater, it's this awesome time just to prep the schools for the year, to encourage the teachers, and just to show that we are together for the next generation. And we love Community Serve Day. Do not miss out. There's light projects, like if you have just had back surgery and you're like, I need to just cut things out and sit at a desk for teachers, or there's
opportunities for everyone.
Yeah, there's opportunities, painting and landscaping and all sorts of things. So you're gonna wanna be there. Pick your school.
That's right. And we usually have about 3,000 plus volunteers as a part of this. So you want to be a part of it. This is, again, our campus shuts down. So we are not here on campus for the day. We are going to be out in the community, and it is going to be awesome. Again, like Jackie said, you don't want to miss it. communityserveday.org. You can pick which school you start. Yes, and it's in 2
weeks. So sign up today.
We need like a 2
Pull out your phone right now. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Okay, so that's the first thing.
Yes.
The next thing is
in
the
3 weeks.
Following week.
Yes.
August 29th, we have Team Night. Now, what is Team Night, Jackie?
Okay, Team Night, let's just start off with signing up for it. Is northshore.church/team night. And it's kind of for two groups of people. It's for people who are already on our team, and we just want to love on you and thank you and just show our appreciation, because we have such an incredible team of volunteers.
We do.
They blow me away.
Shout out to all our volunteers.
For real, thank you. And come to Team Night so we can say thank you in so many ways. And then also, if you haven't had the opportunity to join the team yet, you can come to Team Night. We'll let you in. So that you can see how much we appreciate our volunteers, what a big deal it is to be part of the team here. So whether you're on the team or you want to join the team, which you want to, and now is your opportunity, just sign up for Team Night coming August 29th. It's at 5 o'clock. It's here. We're serving dinner, really good food. We'll have stuff for kids, so we'll have childcare for infant through 11 years old. Which is
there.
Awesome. I mean, just think about that. Like, stretch out those arms for a couple hours.
I love it.
And then if you have a 12-year-old or older, have them come with you and sit with you in kind of the main event, because they can be serving on teams. So
that's right.
It's just going to be great. It's going to be great.
It's going to be so good. We're also going to hear a little bit from Scotty about what's coming up in the fall. So you don't want to miss it. Again, don't miss back-to-back weekends, Community Serve Day and Team Night. Let's do this thing. I'm really excited about it.
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
So good. If you are just joining us, though, welcome to Northshore. We are so excited that you're joining us today. Last week, Scotty kicked off our new series called Real Talk from a really interesting location. And we actually have a clip that we want to show you from that. So go ahead and check this out.
How beautiful on the mountaintops, or the coffee shops, or on that Target run, or in row 17, are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation. That news was shareable then, and friends, it's still shareable today, even in this hurting and hostile world. But you have to start more conversations and be willing to listen and find common ground and tell your story, and then let God do the rest. Think seeds, not fruit.
That was such a great start to our series. I'm so excited for this series.
I know. It's going to be so good. And we have something else exciting that's happening this morning. We get to welcome back our very own, one of our favorite humans in the whole world, Pastor Jonathan Wolfgang is back, and he's going to be continuing our series today. I can just hear the applause.
I'm so excited for this. So excited he's back.
It's going to be so good. Well, again, welcome to Northshore. The team is about to get started. We're going to worship God together, and we are so excited that you're joining us today.
Well, hey, welcome to Northshore. It's so good to see each of you here today, whether you're in this room or joining us online. I hope this hour encourages you. And it's a time where you can take a step forward in your faith. So let's all stand together. Let's worship Jesus today.
Now
powerful words that we're singing today, and this next song, we learned it last week, and it's just an opportunity for us to just remember that when we ask the Holy Spirit to move, we're asking him to move in our hearts as individuals. We're asking him to move in our families, in our workspaces, in our schools, and we're asking him to move in this space. That's what's so amazing about God, is he's moving in all those different ways. And something special happens when a group of people get together and we're all open to him. He moves in that environment in a way that is beautiful and special and exactly what our souls need right now. So if you want God to move in your life, you want God to move in this place, our only job in that is to open up our hands to him. Just say, God, I don't have all the answers. I don't always know what you're doing. I'm not always sure where you are, but I am surrendering to you now, and I'm open to you doing whatever you want to do. And so I just want to challenge all of us in this room, online, for our hearts to be open to his love, for our minds to be open to his truth, and to allow this song to bring us to that place where we're saying, Holy Spirit, do whatever you want to do today. So let's keep singing.
I feel it in my bones, you're about to move. I feel it in the wind, you're about to ride it. You said that you would pour your spirit out. You said that you would fall on sons and daughters. So come.
an awesome time of singing our praise and worship to God. You guys can be seated. Thank you so much. My name is Justin. If I haven't introduced myself to you, I'm the Next Gen Director here. And all that means is that I get to work with amazing kids and student teams here at our church. And we just want to welcome you. Thank you so much for coming to Northshore today. We know you could have gone anywhere, but you came here, and especially those who are here for the very first time, thanks for coming out. We're not sure what brought you here, but I do know this. I know that God has a purpose for you, and you're here on purpose, and we know that God wants to speak to you. And so I hope that you have felt that already as we've gone through our worship service. If you've noticed, there's a pocket in front of the chair in front of you, and in that chair, there is a card that looks just like this. It's called a connection card. And if you're here for the first time, we'd love for you to take this card out, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little spot for you to check if you're new, and we'd love to have you fill this out, and we just want to connect with you. Maybe you're watching online for the first time. You can text text North Shore to 97,000, and we just want to connect with you. We want to say hi, call you this week, and answer any questions that you may have about our church. Want to pray with you. If you want some prayer, we can pray with you as well. And if you're here in person, you can just drop the cards off as you leave into the buckets when you leave out the doors. What an exciting weekend, because we also have Jonathan Wolfgang back in the house from sabbatical. It's been a while. He's been just taking a few months to refresh after several years of serving, and we're excited to have him back teaching, giving the word. So this is what I want us to do, is when he comes out here in a few moments, I want us to give him a rowdy, warm North Shore welcome back when he gets out here. So don't do it yet, save it. He's gonna come out here in just a little bit. But before we get there, I am reminded once again of how generous our church is. And so I want to thank you so much for your generosity. You continue to give, and because of that, we're able to do some really fun things. In fact, be the church outside of these four walls. I know sometimes we think the church is like this place is the church, but it's not. We are the church. And so we get to put that into practice on August 22nd with Community Serve Day. Community Serve Day. And so if you haven't been a part of that, I want you to sign up for it in the lobby. You can do that if you're in person or online. You can click a button there and register online. But to remind us that on August 22nd, we're only going to have online services, just online services. So we're not canceling church, we're just doing it online, and we're going out and serving our community. If you come here on that day, our doors are going to be locked. So you're going to be sitting there like, let me in, let me in. And Pastor Scotty is not going to be here to let you in. He's going to be at one of 30 locations around our community, serving and getting our schools ready for the upcoming school year. And so we want you to join us with that as well. So to remind you, I've got some Frisbees that have that date on here. And we're going to see who can catch a Frisbee this morning to remind us that this is going to happen. We got some way back there? Way back? Okay. In the balcony, you guys, my job is on the line. I know Pastor Scotty's not here, but he's going to see this. Okay, I'm going to try you back there. Ready? If this hits someone in the head, please come back. Okay, ready? Here we go. I'm gonna try it. Okay. You guys, I'm too nervous. Okay, someone over here. Ready? Here we go. Oh, you guys, no one's gonna choose me for an ultimate Frisbee team now after all this, but that's all right. Let's try. Oh, see, he got up and got it. You guys are amazing. What a fun church. I love it. But hey, we want to tell you more about our Community Serve Day coming up. But we've got Carrie, who's a kindergarten teacher, who can do a lot better job than I can. So watch this video.
So my name is Carrie Stokes, and I teach kindergarten at Woodmore. And I've been in the North Shore School District for about 20 years. And when I first was introduced to Serve Day, I didn't take them up on it because I was really nervous about opening up my practice to others, and just thought like, oh, it'd be really confusing to explain it to somebody else. And then I watched other teachers really benefit from these incredible volunteers that were so selfless. And the first time I tried it out, I had kind of a list of a couple of things, and they were just incredible. These volunteers came in, and they did a bulletin board. They filled my writing folders. They made copies. They leveled my books. I mean, they did everything, and far beyond anything I could imagine. It was the first year that I ever called parents to talk to them about their kids before school started. Just, it's kindergarten. It's the first time that they're starting school, and I had had all this extra time. I called, I talked to each one, wanted to know who they were as a learner, what's their family like, what are they nervous about? A couple of them were really nervous about coming into school, so they came in ahead of time because I was there and I had the time. It really was the gift of time. We have one groundskeeper for 6 schools. There's just no way he could get to everything. Our custodians are incredible, they're amazing, but they just can't get to everything. There's just not enough people. And so by having this kind of everybody all at once, it sort of catches us up, then we're on top of it, and all we have to do is keep it up. So it's pretty neat. It's beautiful. And I come to school after that, and normally you come to school and there's weeds and there's curbs that aren't painted and lots of things like that. But after serve day, it's a good reminder for me too, like this is a gift from people who care. This is a gift from somebody who didn't know us anything and just did it to be kind. So it kind of, I don't know, warms your heart throughout the year. I feel connected to this church without even being a member here. You're really an integral part of the community. It's amazing. So much for, I could gush about this all day long. Serve day is really the best.
Yeah, good stuff. Very good stuff. Well, it is, Thank you. It is good to be back. Jeez, all right. Thank you. It's good to see you guys. All right, you're on my time now. You're on my clock now. I got time. All right, we can hang out for a while. Gosh, I should go away for a couple months more often. This is nice. I don't know. But it is good to see you all. And those of you who are online as well, great to have you as well with us. For those who are new, over the last couple of months, or maybe don't remember all the way back to May when I was last here, I'm Wolfgang, and I work here, and so glad. In fact, I know, from what I understand now, new folks, if you take that little welcome card, if you're here on our campus, if you take that welcome card to the welcome table back there, they will give you a cool mug, and they will also give you a voucher for free lunch out at one of the food trucks today, which made me wonder, how long do you have to be gone to qualify for one of those? You know what I mean? So I'm gonna give that a test after this is over. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully you'll join me if you are new. But it is wonderful to be back, and to go back a bit to what we were just watching on the video. I mean, we could not have dreamed for better things to be said by that kindergarten teacher as she shared about the impact that Community Serve Day has now made for over a decade, both in Lake Washington and in the Northshore School District. And to think about the impact that has, that goes beyond just a fresh-looking building and a neatly decorated classroom, but the impact it has on teachers, on students, enabling them to do a better job, enabling families to be more prepared. It is something we get to do that shows our world that there is a God who loves them and we love them too, all right? That's totally true. So the reason I bring this up, and I want to just be very direct. Yes, Justin mentioned we are not going to be worshiping on campus on the 22nd. We will be worshiping all over this community on the 22nd, okay? And if you have not signed up for that, I do not know what is wrong with you. All right, I'll just be very direct, because there's stuff for everybody to do, age, ability, whatever. There's indoor stuff, outdoor stuff. We could use your help. So 3,000 people total, 9 different churches, all kinds of organizations, 30 different schools. Be part of it and check that out. But anyway, back to what, let me say as I'm jumping in, I am so deeply thankful for the gift that this sabbatical was to me and to my family. And so to the leadership here at North Shore, to all of you for very generously allowing for such a benefit like this, it was fabulous, fabulous time. And I'm rested, excited to be back. And I did everything from epoxy my garage floor to travel in Spain with my 17-year-old son. And everything in between. And it was absolutely fantastic. So, in fact, the experience that my son Stone and I had over in Spain is one of the things I want to tell you about. It was the highlight of our trip. It actually ties in to what it is that we're talking about here today. Because for a week, my son Stone and I packed up our backpacks and hiked a 1,000-year-old pilgrimage route across the north of Spain. called the Camino de Santiago. I know some people here have done it. It's an amazing experience. This is an image of my sunstone, and you have these little markers all along the trail, and it weaves through little villages and little towns, through deep woods, up on mountaintops all over the place. As someone who loves history and things like that, we came across places like this specific church here. It was built in the 1100s. That's just so cool to me, right? And it's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you sometime if you want, but we went to visit it. It was closed, and as we were leaving, this 94-year-old guy, who's the caretaker of the church, emerges from his house and says, "Venga, venga, venga." He calls us back. He says, "Would you like to see the church?" He opens this church for us and takes us on this private tour of frescoes that were painted before Columbus sailed to the New World. I mean, just amazing stuff, which for a history nerd like me is like heaven, all right? It was an incredible experience, and to get to share it with my son. And then, of course, that big climactic moment, 80 miles, 5 days later from when we started, Stone and I standing in front of the cathedral, which tradition says has the bones of St. James, James the Apostle, brother of John, one of the closest circle of Jesus. And to see the inside and to visit the experience was just unbelievable. It's an experience I'll never forget. But one of the things that was so special about it wasn't only doing it with my son, of course, that was the highlight of it all. But along the way, we met so many interesting people. Now, this was back at the beginning of the July. This was just after Spain had reopened to tourists, vaccinated tourists from the US. And so there weren't as many hikers along the way as there normally would be, but we still met people from everywhere, from Barcelona to Biloxi, Mississippi. From Italy to India. And they were young, they were old, different backgrounds, different races. It was incredible. Because every year, people travel from all around the world to take this hike. In fact, in one of the previous peak years, just a few years ago, more than 270,000 people walked this route. The whole length is 500 miles. But to receive this certificate that they give at this special office at the cathedral, you have to do at least the last 70 or 80. 270,000 people in a single year did this. Now, what in the world would attract 270,000 people from around the world to leave their lives for at least a week, many for much longer than that, to tie on their hiking boots, to trek up and down the mountains of Spain to visit the Cathedral of St. James? And this is not the Burke-Gilman Trail. No disrespect to you Burke-Gilman friends. This is like, there's hills and it's steep and there's all kinds of stuff going on this trail. Some do it for adventure, they'll say. Some do it because they want to get themselves in physical shape. But most of the people who do this walk, they report when they check in at the cathedral, they say they were doing it for some spiritual reason. It was a pilgrimage for them. And as a result, there are dozens of books, hundreds of blogs that are written by people who had this experience, who describe their quest for some kind of spiritual awakening, some kind of insight. Because there's some hunger in them that they're hoping this pilgrimage will help them find what it is that they're looking for. See, here's a fundamental belief in my life. I believe everybody is searching for something bigger than themselves, some purpose, some reason for life bigger than just themselves. And they may not articulate it as spiritual, but that same impulse that drives people to take the Camino drives them to do all other kinds of things as well, to try to find meaning, to try to eke some purpose or meaning out of this. It could be work, it could be relationships, it could be hobbies. It takes many forms, but we're looking for some bigger purpose or meaning in our lives. Even if we try to drown it out or pretend it's not there. All of us have this, some deep sense. The Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes puts it this way. Speaking of God, it says, God has set eternity in the human heart. In other words, there's something deep inside all of us, isn't there, that just knows there's more. I always think of it like the Northwest salmon, that deep inside just has this instinct that one day it will go back to wherever it was born. It just happens. Nature marvels at why that is. But there's this deep instinct in them. Friends, I believe we have that same sort of instinct in every human heart. That there's more something beyond this life, that there's more than just growing up, going to school, getting a job, retiring, and then dying. That there's more to life than that. There's a bigger story, a bigger purpose. Most people I know wonder about such things, and they'll hike 500 miles if it'll help them find it. So on one hand, you have all these folks with this hunger. On the other hand, you have all these people who are followers of Jesus who believe we've discovered this big story. We've discovered there is a God who sees us, who knows us, who even loves us. And he was willing to come to this earth to put on human skin and bones, just like you and me, to deal with stresses and relationships and temptations and struggles in life. And through his life and his death and his resurrection, Jesus makes it possible for us to live an entirely different kind of life, both in this world and in the one to come. That's what we believe. And for those of us who are followers of Jesus, somewhere along the way, someone told us that story. They told us that good news. They told us that truth. Whether it was your parents, whether it was a friend, whether it was a pastor, whatever it was, whenever it was, they did what the Apostle James did. When tradition tells us he left Jerusalem where he'd been serving with Jesus, and he went all the way to Spain to tell other people about this good news. Somewhere along the way, someone did that for you. And so from those earliest apostles all the way up to this very moment, people have lived out this challenge, this verse from Paul in Romans chapter 10, where Paul writes, how can people believe in Jesus if they've never heard about him? And how can they hear about him unless someone tells them? They can't. Someone has to tell them somewhere along the way. And this telling isn't just to be done by apostles and by pastor types. It's to be done by all of us who have discovered this good news of Jesus. We get to be part of sharing what it is we've found. But here's the disconnect, right? On one hand, we have this whole world of people searching. And on the other hand, all these people who say they've found it, but for whatever reason, feel too intimidated, too reluctant, too hesitant to ever actually say anything about what they've found to anybody else. So that's what we're talking about in this series, this Real Talk series. What does it look like to have authentic spiritual conversations, not staged, rote formulas, but authentic conversations with people about spiritual matters? Can that be natural? Can we get better at that? I believe we can, and that's what we want to do as a church. We want that to be normal for us, where we just talk about what it is we're experiencing. So I want to talk through some of the obstacles that get in the way of that, and then get real specific about some ways that we can maybe grow in this area. And a lot of what we've been sharing, Scotty mentioned this last week, a lot of what we've been sharing comes from this little book. It's called Reluctant Witness. It does all sorts of research on people's attitudes, both believers and non-believers, about spiritual conversations. So much insight. Some of that we want to share as we walk through this series. You can check that out. So let me get real practical, okay? What would it look like to bridge that gap between those of us who know and those who are searching? Because people aren't just searching in Spain, friends. They're searching in Kirkland, and in Bothell, and in Kenmore, and in Linwood, and in Bellevue. They are even searching in Monroe, those people up there. They're searching everywhere, looking for something deeper. So I want to talk about why are we hesitant and how can we overcome some of those hesitations? Because we don't want to come off as religious wackos, and yet we want to share what it is that we've found. So here you go, 5 myths about spiritual conversations. These come straight from this guy's book. I'm grateful for them. 5 myths about spiritual conversations. Number 1, spiritual conversations take place in special places during special moments by special people. There are certain circumstances, all the stars must align for this to happen, right? Now that's not true of regular conversations. Regular conversations just happen all the time. You stand in a line, you're at a restaurant, you're talking to somebody at work or your neighbor. You could talk about sports or weather or restaurant, whatever it is. That comes at any time. But for some reason, we feel like these kinds of conversations, they require perfect, idyllic situations and circumstances. And it's only the super spiritual that ever have these kinds of conversations. There have to be rays of sunlight bursting through the clouds and a little dove that flies down and lands on your head or something like that, right? But it's just not true. These kinds of conversations can happen anywhere with anyone. And it's not just pastor types. In fact, one of the pieces of research they found in some of the surveys they did for this little book showed most people would rather have a spiritual conversation with a friend or someone they know than somebody like me, like a pastor. They'd rather hear it from someone they know instead of somebody they perceive to be hired to talk about this stuff. You know what I mean? Because it just feels different. You know that there's a relationship there. That's part of why we do things like Community Serve Day that we mentioned a minute ago. Yes, it is a great way for us to bless our schools and our community. But I think this might be the easiest invitation of the entire year when it comes to things that are happening here at Northshore. Because even if people have no spiritual inclination or openness at all, they can still be part of helping out in their community. And in fact, for those of you online, this is something you can do at your school as well. You can reach out to your local school, say, can I come over and help somehow? It doesn't just have to be here in the Western Washington. But this is the kind of thing that nobody objects to, right? And I've been doing this now for more than 10 years. I can't tell you, almost every one of these years, I've had a conversation with someone I was serving with, either that I knew or had come with someone else who was like, your church does this kind of stuff all the time? Tell me more about that. It's so cool that your church does this kind of stuff. Those are spiritual conversations, friends. They're planting seeds and opening doors to be able to talk about the fact that God calls us to live others-focused lives, not just be absorbed with ourselves. It actually shows them we do more than talk about that in a meeting once a week. We actually do it. And that's what this is all about. And so I hope that not only are you planning to come on the 22nd, but that you're planning to sign up a friend or invite them to come along, because you never know how that might give them a new perception of what it means to be a follower of Jesus, or what church looks like, because so many people carry baggage around that stuff. Okay, keep going here. Second myth a lot of people have. Spiritual conversations are serious and sober events. You know what I mean? I remember this guy that I went to college with. I'll call him Jay, because his name was Jay. And Jay was this Southern guy, like, not to be stereotypical, but kind of hillbilly type, super high-pitched voice, really thick Southern accent. He sounded like somebody off Moonshiners on Discovery Channel. Anybody else watch Moonshiners? I love that show. Anyway, maybe I'm the only one, but Jay sounded like he could come off that show. And Jay was hilarious, super funny, infectious laugh, except when he talked about spiritual things. Because somehow, the minute he started to pray or to talk about spiritual stuff, like preach or whatever, he would be possessed with this deep voice. Suddenly, he would sound like James Earl Jones, you know, the guy that voiced Darth Vader. You know who I'm talking about? Suddenly, this little hillbilly guy would sound like James Earl Jones. Serious, somber. These are heavy matters we're discussing, right? Friends, Christians are allowed to laugh. If there's anyone in the world who ought to be laughing, it's Christians, right? Because how laughable is it that the God of the universe knows everything about us and loves us anyway? We don't have to pretend. He sees us. We know the truth about ourselves, and we're loved anyway. And friends, that's a source of joy. We don't need to take ourselves so seriously. So whether we're joking about goofy, cheesy Christian t-shirts or stupid things that Christian people do on TV or that we do from time to time, the conversations don't all have to be serious. So relax a little. Myth 3, and this is probably the one that I hear the most of all. Maybe you felt this. In spiritual conversations, I need to be able to give the right answers. So many of us are so hesitant to talk about spiritual things because we're afraid we're going to get hit with some question we don't know how to answer. For one, we don't like to look like we don't know what we're talking about. And two, we're a little afraid if we say the wrong thing, maybe we'll like screw them up for eternity or something like that. You know what I mean? But here's what I've found in my relationships and conversations. It is okay to say, you know what, that is a great question. I'm not sure how to answer it. Or to say, you know what, actually, to be truthful, that's a question I sometimes wrestle with. And here's what I've learned along the way. See, you don't have to know it all. You're not God. Sometimes I find people, they're actually more open when we're honest about what we don't know, when we respond to questions, instead of some pre-recorded response or something like that. None of us knows everything. We are all learning and growing. In fact, look at the challenge that the Apostle Peter gave to the early followers of Jesus in 1 Peter 3. He says, always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. We'll come back to that last line in a minute. But notice what he says, always be prepared to give an answer to every question? No. Prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. It doesn't say you have to know all the answers. It just says, be ready to explain how you're finding hope in Jesus, how he's getting you through this pandemic when so much is uncertain in our world, how you have hope in the future when so many people are uncertain or worried. See, when you tell your story, when you talk about the hope and the peace that you're finding in your faith in Jesus, you don't have to have all the right answers because you're just telling about your story. And that's part of why I love Alpha so much. Many of you know this is a passion of mine. We love this as a church. For people who aren't familiar with Alpha, Alpha is a place designed for folks who wouldn't consider themselves Christians, but are open or curious about spiritual questions. And so the whole thing is laid out about sharing a meal together, watching a short film on a topic of faith, and then having a conversation about that topic. And I'll tell you, I have met some of the most interesting people I know in this city through Alpha. It's a place where questions are welcome. It's right there in the logo, right? There's a reason it's a giant question mark. It's not an exclamation point, Alpha. It's not a period even. It's a question mark. Because it's a place where those questions are welcome, where they're encouraged, where they're respected. Big questions like, is there more to life than this? Who is Jesus? How do I have faith? And the plan is for us to get back together again to have Alpha in person starting this coming September on Sunday evenings. And if you know someone who wouldn't consider themselves a believer but is open to these kinds of conversations, it's the perfect place to invite them. And you can register for that. Sign up at northshore.church/alpha. See, these conversations don't have to happen just in special places with special people. They don't have to be somber or serious, and you don't have to have all the answers, because who does? But there are more myths. Last couple I want to mention here. Myth 4. Most spiritual conversations involve conflict, which ruins everything. See, most of us will be honest, we don't like conflict. Conflict is something we try to avoid. It's not a strength for most of us. And some people have this idea that the key to having spiritual conversations is to be able to debate people into faith. If they can just overcome every perceivable logical objection, that person will fall on their knees in repentance right there, right? Never works that way. But for some reason, that's what we think. Now, it is true, when talking about faith, there will be disagreements. People see the world in many different ways, of course. But we don't have to go looking for arguments or picking fights. We can just talk about what we're learning in ways that are not confrontational or combative. During a sabbatical, I had some time with our extended family who lives in Pennsylvania. We all met up in the Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee. And that's where both my wife and I went to school. Most of our dating years were there. We love the Smoky Mountains. And when we were there this summer, I was reminded of two things. One, 97-degree heat with 100% humidity is no fun, all right? It's no fun. Don't do it, all right? Some of you tasted that. It was like a sauna there. Unbelievable. But there was a second thing that I was reminded of. It was slightly more significant. Not far from the college that I attended, there was a church that I had forgotten about that had one of those changeable signs out front of the building. You know what I'm talking about, where they put like a little message or something like out there. And this church had developed a reputation for putting some of the most confrontational, combative signs out that you could imagine. In fact, I sort of had labeled it when I was a student there, and I'd forgotten about this. I'd labeled it in my mind, I thought of it as the hate church. Because these signs were angry. In fact, some of them were so offensive, I wouldn't even tell you what they were, frankly. And I'd forgotten all about it until one day I was driving back to kind of see the old campus where I'd gone to school with some of my family. And sure enough, the sign was out. Here's what it said: "You think it's hot now, it's even worse in hell," it said. Now, is that true? Probably. Probably. But let me ask you, seriously, do you think anyone has ever driven by a sign like that, pulled off to the side of the road, jumped out of their car, fallen to their knees, and accepted Jesus? Ever. I was a student there in the 90s. It's 25 years ago. I'm pretty sure their streak of signs has probably gone unbroken. How many people you think over those 25 years have found themselves transformed by Jesus' grace or falling in love with the God who loves them because of a sign like that? You think that's working? True or not? Friends, I'd be shocked. That's why this passage that we talked about earlier from Peter is so important. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give a reason for the hope that you have, but don't be a jerk about it, he says. As a paraphrase. Do this with gentleness and respect. Jerkiness is not a spiritual gift, all right? So why not just be humble? Why not just be honest? Why not just be gentle? Why have to tear someone else's belief down to build your own up? Why not just lift up how beautiful Jesus is and let him shine? We'll talk more about that next week. It goes back to one of the things that Scott talked about last week, something we could all grow in, the simple habit of listening. Just listening. I have a close friend who is currently working in a closed country where he has to be so wise about how he talks about his relationship with Jesus. Because seriously, he could be deported, he could be arrested, worse could happen potentially if he's suspected of somehow trying to convert people to Christianity. But what he's learned in his time there is by just being curious, by being willing to listen and to hear what other people think, what happens is he finds that others are then curious too. They want to know what he thinks. And he's had incredible conversations about Jesus in some of the most unlikely circumstances you could ever imagine. And friends, that's not just true in closed countries around the world. The same is true here in our culture, in our world. There's no need to go looking for a fight. This isn't about your rights. It's about humbling ourselves enough to be listeners who can walk with folks as they're exploring what it is that we believe they need in their life. There's such great power in humbly listening to others. And when there is conflict, you work your way through it with gentleness and respect. We could all use some growth in this, especially in our culture and our world. Okay, one last myth. Because all that clapping at the beginning ate up all my time. Let me go here. No, I appreciate it very much. It means a lot. Myth 5, you ready? Spiritual conversations are burdensome duties that wind up being regrettable. Not only do we not want to do it, but we're always sad we did when we try, right? This is no fun at all, right? Lots of people see having spiritual conversations like it's this duty, it's this burden, it's this order, and they don't want to do it. And they usually don't. It's kind of like flossing, right? We all agree it's a good idea. But how many of us actually do it consistently? Let's be honest, all right? Maybe some of you do. We commend you for your dental hygiene, all right? We're all impressed, okay? But it doesn't have to be that way. This can be a natural part of our conversations. And the amazing thing is, when we actually have these conversations, they are rarely as awkward as we thought they would be in the first place. Instead, they can be this source of joy. It's actually sort of fun. I experienced that this last week. One of the things I've tried to do in my adult life is to get my hair cut by people who don't go to church, who don't have a spiritual story or don't have a spiritual relationship with Jesus. And if I can manage it, that's who I'll start to go to. Just because it is an easy place to just sit, I'm paying them for the time, right? And they always want to know, what do you do? And what do you tell me about what you did this week or whatever, that kind of stuff. And so I talk about what I do as a pastor, what our church does, brag on Northshore, talk about all the cool things you guys are doing. Well, for the last 8 years, I've been going to a woman named Ashley. See, my problem is I'm not as good looking as Scott. And so I have to have a professional help me get somewhere near visually acceptable, all right? And Ashley's a pro. And I love her because she's one of those people who says whatever is on her mind. I love those people in life. I've always said, I'd rather get punched in the face than stabbed in the back any day of my life. I like people who call it like they see it. Ashley calls it like she sees it. Anyway, I love that. She's as raw and as real as they come. So for years, I've been talking about what I do and things the church is doing. And I'd invite her to things like Christmas or to Easter or to Community Serve Day, like I was talking about earlier. And she's always very polite about it. Conversation would keep moving, no problem, but she would never take me up on the invitation. And over the years, she and her husband, they had 2 kids, a little boy, then a little girl. And as time's gone on, I've seen them get more and more open over time. Well, just before Christmas last year, height of the pandemic, another friend of hers invited her to church, and she went. Next thing I know, she's talking about how for Christmas she was asking for a new Bible. She's then telling me about how much she loves the singing, not the sinning, that's another conversation. The singing, let me be clear. Used to be, she said she wouldn't go till 15 minutes late because she didn't like the songs. Now she gets there early, she says. Because when I'm sitting there listening to that music, it makes me cry. My kids love it. My husband won't admit it, but even he likes it, she says. She's still growing, of course. She's early in her faith. But I couldn't believe it when last Wednesday I went in to get my hair cut, and the first thing out of her mouth was an invitation to a worship concert. And I'm thinking to myself, who are you and what have you done with my friend? That's what crossed my mind, right? Because Ashley, of years ago, would never dream of a thing like that. And it has been so amazing to watch this gradual process, this journey that she's been on. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, she and I have been friends now for 8 years, and I'm not saying it's me by any stretch. It was ultimately, of course, her friend who finally convinced her to come. I couldn't do it. But I'd like to think that all those years of talking, offering to pray for her when she was going through something hard with her family, talking about the difference that I was learning from Jesus when it came to my marriage or to my kids' lives or to my just life in general, that all of those little things played a part in this new beautiful chapter that God's writing in her life. And I'll tell you, I genuinely love Ashley. I mean, she is fantastic. And I'm so excited about what's happening in her life. And in that moment, when she asked me about going to that concert, I was reminded, this isn't some duty I have to fulfill. This is not flossing, friends. This is the opportunity to be part of somebody's forever story. This is a chance to have your life touch another life in a way that will alter eternity. That's got to be one of the greatest honors, one of the greatest joys, one of the greatest gifts you could ever experience. It doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be confrontational. It's just as natural as you talking about a new restaurant you found, or a trip you went on, or a movie you watched. Because people are far more open than you think, friends. So let me ask you, who's your Ashley? And what's holding you back from sharing with them what it is you found? And just bow your head with me. Let's pray about this. Let's ask for God's help. Oh, Lord. God, I thank you. I thank you that you built a bridge, that you reached across a chasm we couldn't cross ourselves. That because of your love for us, you were willing to come, live like us, at times struggle like us, even suffer like us. You get it. And you opened a door so we could have a whole new kind of life. Lord, I thank you right now. I thank you for all the people in my story who told me about that. Whether I wanted to hear it or not, whether it frustrated me or not, I thank you for their grace and their patience and their love to tell me about this good news, to model for me this good news and the difference it's made in my heart as a result. And God, I pray that you will use each of us, myself included, use each of us in that same way in the people's lives we care about. The people all around us who are searching, where they muster the strength to get to Spain or whether they just quietly go through their every day wondering if there's more. God, I thank you, there is more. You see us, you know us, you love us, you want us. And we can be part of helping others feel the joy that comes with knowing the God of the universe gives a rip and wants to give us a whole new life. So God, I thank you for the lives that are going to be touched by the folks in this room. And I thank you for the people who are here right now or watching online. And the reason they're here or watching is because they're searching. Because there's something in them that says there's more. I'm not sure what it is, but I know there's more. God, you are that answer. You satisfy that hunger. As Jesus said, those who hunger and thirst will thirst no more. And so I thank you for your grace and your love. I thank you for the hope that we can have because of you. And for those searching that want to ask those questions, if you're online, reach out to that person in the chat. They would love to pray with you, to talk with you. If you're here on campus, there are people at the Welcome Center. We'd love to talk and pray with you about this. So God, I thank you. I thank you for being our hope. And I pray this in the name of our living hope, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I want to invite you to stand with us. Let's respond to God. How great the chasm that lay between us. How high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows. Christ, my living hope. the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Oh, Jesus, yours is the victory. So good to sing together today in this room, online. Thank you for joining us. I hope this hour encouraged you. If you need some prayer after service, you can come on up to the front of the stage. Love to pray for you. And be sure to drop your connection cards off at the buckets on your way out of the room. And if you have any questions about North Shore, you want to get involved with one of the teams here, you can go to guest services and chat with someone there. But other than that, we love you guys. Thank you so much for being with us. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon and the team, for leading us today, and Wolfgang for that message. And for all of you joining us, we are so excited that you joined us today.
Yes, and we've just got 2 weeks left until Community Serve Day. Yeah. So sign up right now, communityserveday.org, and then 3 weeks until our big team night. Yes. So that's northshore.church/team night. So don't miss out on those. You'll be bummed if you do. So sign up right now. There can be amazing weekends coming up. I'm so excited.
We can't wait. Well, again, North Shore, thank you for joining us. We can't wait to see you back next week. Same time, same place, right here at North Shore Online. We'll see you then.